Hello YouTube, Thibaut Van Dam here with another YouTube video. And it's been a while. I've been away from my channel for about 2 months, and I sort of want to talk about what's happened in that period of time. I also sort of want to talk about why I stopped making videos, because it was a very deliberate thing I'd done. Today I am going to be playing an original song. It's called Time is Every Day. But before I play it and talk about it, I just wanted to talk about a few of those other things. So if you'd like to just hear the song, there will be a link in the description so you can skip ahead. But in this instance, I do encourage you to just listen to what I have to say. So about 2 months ago is when I made my last video, and on my end, things got pretty chaotic. So I had plans to release my next video. Actually, I had 2 videos planned, and then basically George Floyd was murdered shortly after I'd made my last video. And this led to a resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement. And there was a lot of new ideas getting passed around, things that I'd never heard. And there's a lot of ideas that have existed for a while getting passed around as well. Specifically, this one idea, silence as compliance, really spoke volumes to me. It really got me thinking about my role in institutional racism and how exactly I can be a better ally. And it really shocked me how much I separated myself from institutional racism. And I had to really ask myself why I did that, because institutional racism has been going on for a while. There have been a lot of murders like George Floyd's, unfortunately. And, you know, I don't really think I've said enough or said anything really about it. And I had to ask myself why that was. And so I decided to stop making YouTube videos. This is sort of in line with what ended up becoming Blackout Tuesday, which was something in the entertainment industry, which was to not share any entertainment content just because I think Black Lives Matter. I decided to explore it more with my YouTube channel, basically in a way to show solidarity to the Black Lives Matter movement. So that way the good information that is getting passed around on YouTube and on social media, that is all accessible, and that I'm not saturating those areas with my own content or distracting people, because that's really a very harmful thing too. And I know that it is a form of silence, but I thought in this instance it made sense because I don't know enough about institutional racism to speak confidently about it. And I think it's better in this instance that I just listen. And so I took a step back and I tried educating myself more. And now a few months have gone by, and I've decided to return to my channel and continue making videos, which I'm really excited about. But I had to answer some of those questions. And one thing that became really clear to me, why silence is compliance, why that spoke so much to me, is one of the main reasons being that I am a musician and I take expression really seriously. And so it makes perfect sense that if something's bothering me, if I'd like to change something, if there's something I don't agree with, I write a song about it. That's how I process these things. I speak out about it, and I share that song. For instance, my song about flatmates, that's something that I'll share on my YouTube channel. I'll talk about it. And I had to ask myself then why I wasn't sharing anything, because I don't agree with the racist attacks against Breonna Taylor or George Floyd or anyone else that's been killed or harassed or injured in a lot of the Black Lives Matter protests and since then. And it occurred to me that actually racism is just a really sensitive topic, and it's something that makes, I think, everyone really uncomfortable. But the difference is that because I'm white, I've never had to deal with racism on a first-hand basis. I've always been able to separate myself from it. It's a privilege that I've had to not have to deal with it. And I've chosen to not deal with it because it's one of these things where I realize that if I try speaking out like I'm doing right now, it's possible I might say the wrong thing. And if I slip up and I say something wrong, people might start calling me racist, and I don't want that to happen. But the reality is that it's inevitable. Growing up in an institutionally racist environment, that it's inevitable I will probably slip up and say something wrong and offend somebody. But what's way more important than me making a mistake like that and then having to eat my own words, way more important than that is the fact that people shouldn't be getting killed based on the color of their skin. That is just outrageous. That's completely unacceptable, and it has to stop and has to change. And it just starts with people saying something as simple as, I think that the killing of George Floyd was wrong, and that the people that killed him should have to go through the justice system and have to suffer that way and experience what's going on, that they have to answer for what they've done. And that's the same with Breonna Taylor, who I think that the people who are culpable for her murder are still not really gone. They still haven't gone through the justice system. And so there's still a long way to go, really. But But I realized that before I get back into my YouTube channel and just as though everything was just the way it was, that it was important that I say something about all this. So a lot has changed in the last 2 months, and that includes a lot of things that I was dealing with even before the Black Lives Matter movement resurged and everything. That includes my landlady. She was trying to evict me, and for a period of time that subsided, but only a few days ago, she came to the flat and she thinks I'm moving out in a week. And I know that that's not going to happen, but it's just very stressful to have to deal with that. I also was employed by Lush Cosmetics shortly before the lockdown began. And unfortunately, they decided not to renew my contract after my 3-month probationary period. And I understand the reasons why, and I've come to accept it. And in both my housing situation and also sort of employment, I have started to think about how I can view these as positive opportunities, for positive change. How can I take these in a good way and make something good out of it? And so I'm just trying to look forward like that. And I've continued writing music, and I'm really excited because I have a lot of music that I've recorded that I think I'm going to be releasing. And let me think, the most recent thing that I've really experienced it was my birthday 2 days ago. And I turned 27, and birthdays have gotten weird in the last couple of years. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're really horrible. This birthday was just fine, but I am getting older, and it doesn't really feel exactly like that. I do feel a little bit like I am getting older, but it started getting me thinking about time. And that kind of brought me to this song and the idea for this song called Time is Every Day. And just to sort of synopsize, some of the ideas I've thought about with time are how time is universal, but it's also relative. So we all are subject to time. We all experience time. But it also occurred to me that even though we all experience it theoretically at the same rate, I'll never be older than my brother, or if I had a younger sibling, they would never be older than me, and so on. That actually, maybe my older brother's aging faster than I am. Maybe at the end of our lives, one of us will think it zipped by when the other thinks that it was just really slow, and so it's so relative in so many ways. Another thing I've really thought about is how space is subject to time, and actually how no space truly exists without a connotation of time. So right now I'm in my flat. It's in Southeast London, and in 3 months I might not be living here. And in 5 years, this building might not exist. And it's just that it happens that right now, at this exact moment in time, that this place is what it is and that I live here. So it's interesting to think about these kind of things. And I started to take some of these ideas in more of a comical way. I started watching Futurama, and in that show, there's this one episode where the professor invents a time machine that only moves forward. And so he, Bender, and Fry all move forward in time. And eventually they get to a point where it seems like the rules of time don't apply to them. And the professor is saying how they need to find out how to get back in time, back to time. And then Bender says this thing. He says, time, I can't go back there. And I just remember thinking that was the most ridiculous idea ever. And it really just blew my mind actually as well, because what it implied was the idea of time as a space. And it contradicts exactly what I just said, which is this idea that space is subject to time. So if time was subject to space, then actually that would mean that it's like a way of thinking of dimensions. It's like if time is like a fourth dimension, it's like a whole new way of thinking about time as like a fifth dimension, as time as a constant. And we know that time is relative. So it's a really weird thing to think about it in that way. So I just found that really fascinating. And so I took a lot of these ideas and I put them all together and I wrote this song. And I don't think that the lyrics are perfect really, but I think that they touch upon these things. So I've definitely been talking long enough. I really appreciate you just sitting and listening to what I had to say. If you didn't, that's cool too. I really don't mind. But thank you for listening to what I have to say. And yeah, without further ado, I'll just play the song. It may seem like I whine all of the time, but take me away, UFOs. There's a blue sky, not a cloud in sight. The sun hugs me dry, but time is in the way. So take me away, UFOs, yeah. Well, time is every day. I make it routine, so time doesn't ever leave. There we go, yeah. Don't ever leave me alone. Sweet. Well, yeah, I kind of got a bit lost there. I got this bag of granola covering the last lyrics. I got my notebook right here. It's a bit cheeky of me, but I only just wrote the song yesterday. It was kind of a work in progress, actually, for like 2 weeks. But then just yesterday, I got all these lines. I just sort of improvised them, and I don't know. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed the song. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you like my channel, if you like the way that I talk about things and all that, please subscribe. It motivates me to make more content. And like I said, I'm back on my channel. I'm really excited to be making more videos. I actually already know what my next video is going to be about. It's going to be about my new AV setup. I know I always talk about my new AV setup. This one I think is here to stay, and I'm really excited to share more information about it. So I'll be making a whole new video where I talk about this and break it down. And if you subscribe, you'll be able to see that. And let me think. I just want to also say just one last thing, which is that it was difficult for me to make this video. I just had a really hard time. I think I've been really scared about what I'm going to say, if I'm going to say the right thing, the wrong thing. But I realize it's important to speak up against racism wherever it's seen. And so I think Black Lives do matter. And I am committing myself to learning more. And I think that if you see this video, that you should too, if you don't already. And I'll put some links in the description, things that I have found, some resources that I have found to be helpful in my learning. Thanks again for watching, and ciao for now.